At Glass America, we partner with you and your service techs to make sure that your entranceways, overhead doors, and enclosures are always operating correctly and safely. We are at your service 24/7, 365 days a year, and are committed to answering service calls in 24 hours or less. As your partners, we know that it is always in our mutual interest to keep your doors and enclosures operating as efficiently and safely as possible. We believe that this goal can be accomplished through simple routine maintenance and troubleshooting. Of course, safety is our #1 priority, and only certified professionals should perform certain tasks and maintenance. However, we have compiled within this DVD a number of simple fixes that can be performed by your on-site technician, which we believe will result in long-term cost savings for your company.
I'm going to try to help you understand some of the basic things on the doors that'll save you a lot of time, save your company a lot of money, and things that are very easy to change. One of the first things that we get calls for as a tech when we go and take a look at a door that's jammed, that won't close, won't lock, generally it will be a lock body. Very simple to change. You have a And you'll have this on a swing door and a slider, okay? It'll have a cover piece on it. 3 screws, you remove that, comes right out. And generally what will happen is if you try to lock or unlock it and it doesn't work, check for, and it might be a little difficult, so I'll pass it around so you can see. There's a set screw. When you remove that cover, there's a set screw. You'll see one sticking out, okay? This one here. If this set screw is loose, and they do come loose, because we don't put Loctite on them, because if you do and you try to remove that after it's got Loctite, you're going to strip that bolt, this thing will never come out. What happens is your lock will start twisting, and if it just moves enough, you try to unlock the door, it won't work, okay? And then you're trying to figure out, well, the key's going in, maybe it's the key, it's the lock. 50% of the time, it's just that small screw. All you do is just realign your lock and tighten that bad boy back up. And that right there will save you a lot of headaches. To replace these, simple also. Remove the lock. Now, I don't know how Sears does it. You might have to have an actual locksmith come. If it's a particular, like a Best lock, they have to remove the core and put in a new one. But generally, if you can actually replace it by getting the actual piece, just take the screw all the way out. Guy comes right out. I'll pass this around, you take a look at it. The 3 screws will come out, this piece will come right out, the new one will go in, and then your lock will slide in. A lot easier this way, but of course when it's on the door it's a little more difficult. Very thin threads on it, so be careful, make sure it goes in easy, because if it doesn't and you force it, now we got a bad lock body and probably the lock itself. On the other end of it, you'll have a thumb turn. On most of the doors you'll see, same deal, works the same way. One side unlocks, easy to change. Guys, saves a lot of time, because not only when the guy comes in are you going to charge you for the lock, they're also going to charge you for the trip charge and however long he stayed at the place. Okay? Any questions on this?
Saves about $150.
Easy, easy. And we see these a lot. We see these with the broken thumb turns. A couple of minutes, it'll take you maybe 15, 20 minutes, remove the cover plate, remove these guys right out. Replace it, line it back up, and before you lock it, first of all, don't let it bottom out, because if it bottoms out, you'll notice that the back piece of the lock will start rubbing up against the inside mechanism. So just back it up enough so that once you turn that key, the thumb turn, and it locks and unlocks, now you can lock it into place, and you're done. Any questions on the lock?
Are they universal, or do we have to order?
This is all standard. This is all this right here is, this lock body will fit on any door. It's standard. And your cylinders, they're all standard. All standard. The only difference is, and I'll show you, I'll pass it around because you're probably not going to be able to see them too well, but you'll notice the strike itself on the lock, one is smaller than the other. They'll generally, when you get these brand new, they're going to give you a variety of sizes. And you just, 2 small screws,
Match it up.
and just put the new piece in. Don't pull the lock out, because if you pull this out, then it's going to be difficult to put it back in. But a couple of minutes, if you want to pass these out, just show them what they look like. Very, very simple to repair, and you save yourself waiting for a mechanic to come in. Maybe you got to wait for him to show up to get the door to lock. A couple of minutes, and you're done.
Especially if it happens at, 9:30.
Show you what the lock body looks like.
And it's a
Pass
little
that
jammed up, you can tinker with this, and, nobody has to hang around and wait for a locksmith to come.
Now, on the lock bodies, if you do order one, the type of door, the only difference between lock bodies are for a sliding door and a swing door, okay? That strike is full, so that would be for a swing door. There's going to be a different type for the slider. It's going to have like a hook, so that the second door, the slave door, will lock into it, so you can't pull it apart. Some of them, on the older doors, you might have rods that'll lock into the ground and into the breakaway arm. That's so nobody comes in and pulls them out. Little more difficult to replace, but it's easy. If you just dismantle the 2 parts of the door, the 2 bolts, door will come down, and you remove the 2 rods, replace them, and that's it. You should be okay. You'll see those also. Sometimes those are bent a little bit. There's a bottom plastic trim that holds that rod in place. Sometimes take a look at that. That'll generally be either full of junk, garbage. 2 screws on the bottom of the door. That piece will come out. You'll need some help. Another guy, just pry the door up a little bit, get some room under there. Drop that piece out, clean it up, put it back in. It'll start locking right away. Take a look at the bottom hole also, where it drops into, because generally that gets full of garbage and gook, and if the lock can't go down there, it's never going to let you lock correctly. This all depends on the brand of the door also. If there's an opening on the top where you can open it, when you open the door and you see the rod, the top rod, you can remove that rod. Then the bottom rod will come out once you pull out the lock body. It'll pull out, and you have to, play with it until it comes out. On some doors, it's sealed, and you can't. The only way you can do it is by taking the door down and removing that bottom one to get that lock body out, because it just won't give you enough room. It just depends on the door. But that's something like, if you remove the lock body and you're able to remove the top rod, if you're able to jiggle that and pull it out, then you're good. Yeah,
On a flush bolt, though, a flush bolt, top and bottom,
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to drop the door?
Not on a flush bolt, not on that one, but on some of the other ones, like on a sliding door, you have to. You have to drop that door. Everybody's seen hinges, right? Okay. Easy. 1, 2, 3. Save yourself, a guy coming down and replace these things. You can order them, and you can tell when these guys go bad. You'll see the door droop on one side. It won't come into the jamb well. And you'll see the wear on the hinge itself. And if you can, by yourself, if you can go to the toe of the door and just pick up the door and move it, and you see it shift, it's time to, hinges got to go. And you can see them. They'll be worn out in the bottom. Maybe grease will be coming out. And you'll be able to change those with no problem.
Quick question.
Sure.
To order hinges,
No.
is it the same number we call for service, or is it a separate number? To
Two
order
one-
parts and stuff?
We're gonna do the same number, they'll just ask for the order
Parts department.
parts department.
Okay, good enough. So,
Now, you do have different types of hinges depending on the doors. I'm pretty sure all the Sears and Kmart's, they're all going to have different type of doors, older doors, newer doors. So you'll also see, you might see hinges like this where they unplug right off, offset hinges. This is like a universal one, so that if, let's say, if you're dealing with a fire door, you know how that buck is, that everything is welded on the back of it for the hinge. If they come apart, now you can't put the hinge back in. You're not going to take that buck out because it's probably, you got concrete and cinder blocks and sandwich between it, so you can't take that out. 2 ways to get around that. Either a universal offset hinge you can put on the door, or a roll-on hinge, which is a longer, like piano hinge.
Yeah.
Those work great. Those will get you out of a lot of trouble. Again, 2 guys, take the door down, a couple of minutes on a manual door, and a couple of bolts, and through bolt on the fire door, and you're through. Could save you a lot of time, a lot of money. Guys seen closers, right? Overheads, simple to change. You know they're non-handed, so you know you just most of the time, generally, you're going to be replacing one that's already leaking. The holes are already there. It should line up. If it doesn't, you'll be off by a little bit. Just make sure it's secure, of course. I'm pretty sure some of you changed this before. Easy to change, save the company some money. Definitely something that you can do, and setting it. When you order something, like let's say you need the weather stripping for an automatic door, give them the brand name. Gyrotech, and I'll tell you about the doors. They're pretty easy to tell which ones. Regular slider, that means it's just a single door sliding back and forth. Single wing, that's it. Biparter is something like over at the pickup room, you have 2 doors that swing open and come back. Most of that weather stripping is clipped on the bottom, so you'll be able to pull them out and just replace it. Not a big deal. You can also, but you do need to know the brand of the door. Makes it a lot easier for us to figure out what type of weather stripping you need to get it done to you, because you want exactly. If you and if it's worse, cut a little piece out, get it to us somehow, and we'll match it up and send you a roll, and that'll be easy. The next thing, I don't know if you've seen these on some of the older stores. You'll see these. This is pretty much a closer, but this is an overhead concealed. On this one, heavy. You got to be careful. There'll be a cover plate hiding it, and the way you can tell it's a concealed, there'll be 2 small holes on the plate that covers it for the adjustment of the door. These are also, when they go bad, you'll notice the door will slam, or when it goes to open, it kind of hangs there and it won't come back. 4 screws takes this out. The only thing that you have to do, though, is on the back, there's an arm that goes connected to the door. 2 Allen bolts. Remove that, piece will come out. The door will swing out, and then you'll be able to drop this guy. Just be very careful, because these can hurt.
Heavy.
Heavy.
On those there, because I got one of my stores that has that there, but the doors that slide into it, the little
Like a U-channel on the back.
The 2 Allen bolts that go in there. You have them on hand, so we can order them. Excellent.
Yeah. A little tricky, but
Oh yeah.
just you got to be careful though, because if you're not watching, these things can crack you in the head and hurt you. The next thing, if you have handicap doors, another call that we generally get, that's when the handicap door, you'll have that press button. You guys seen that? It's low voltage on this that's going through it. It's like dry contact, so it's not like you're going to get zapped with this. Couple of minutes. You remove the 2 screws, and basically what happens here is two things when these go bad. Either you press it, and you generally have 2 of them. You should have one on the outer side of the door and on the inside of the door. If one of them, if you press the button and it doesn't do anything to the door, you go to the other side and the other side works, chances are this bad boy's no good. If the door for some reason stays open, it's a possibility. I don't know if you guys ever taken one of these apart. You got that little spring. Spring goes bad, stays locked, keeps the door open. Very easy to change. They can order these. You can actually, some of the plates are generally, the plates are in good shape. It's just the button and the spring is no good. You can also order those separate. Have them on hand.
Was it like a micro split?
Yeah, normally open and normally close. You can pass that around. So it's pretty easy. It's a low voltage. If you've seen them before, you probably changed them. Not a big deal to change. The next thing, any of you guys seen these? D-Techs? Anybody tried to change one before? The batteries, right? Okay. Okay, so pretty simple. If you're able to remove the cover and change the battery, then changing this is not a big deal, because it'll line right up next to the one that you're taking out. You know about the cylinder, how to remove the cylinder. 2 screws, piece comes right out. These are very easy to change. You don't need a tech guy to come and do this. You guys can do this. It's a couple of minutes. And you know, when you get them brand new, generally the lock will probably be good on the one that you're removing if it's not working right. The mechanism themselves. Just pull out your old lock. Make sure that that it lines up. You'll have a mark on it. So when you put in your lock and you put your bolts in to hold it, just make sure that that stays on, lines up before you put it on. Because if you don't, it won't. You're not going to get it to work. You know about the spring in the arm? He knows. You should be up here, man. You can take my job.
A lot of work.
But again, if you get a guy down to come and do this, first of all, if you're not going to do it, at least tell them what it is, because generally they're not sure and they're going to come in. That's a trip charge. Guy's going to look at, I don't have it. I got to go back, get it, and before you know it, something that could have took you maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes to swap out. Unless you're putting it on a brand new door, and that's not even that difficult. A couple of minutes, and you'll have that in. You can pass that around, take a look. Pretty simple, just to line that up. Once you line that up, put that back on, bolt it on, you put your battery on, and test it, and it'll work.
Question, once you take the lock cylinder off, is there any kind of lubricant that you do in there to make it?
I tell you what, when they're brand new, if you take a look at it, and I'll pass it around, there's nothing on it, because basically you got nylon. You really don't have to put anything. If you're going to put any lubricant, and this goes for any door, to be honest with you, don't put anything heavy on the rollers. Wipe them down, because even when you put in a brand new door, and if you ever pop that cover and you take a look at a brand new door, this is swing, manual, automatic door, it's clean. There's no grease up there. The only thing that's up there, you can wipe it down with some WD-40, keep it clean. But if you start putting grease and silicones and all this other graphite, I seen where they pack the doors with graphite. No, no, no. Because the mechanic goes nuts when he has to pull that thing up and he's got grease all over the place. You don't know where to start. WD-40 works great. You wipe it down, clean it, and that's it. And because the way it works, you can actually, you're able to tell if the capping is clean, if the capping is not gouged up where the roller's right on, because generally when you put that heavy grease on that stuff builds up, the rollers have to kind of ride on top of that, and you're just wearing out the stuff prematurely. Installing it, pretty simple. When it comes in the kit, you'll have a couple of parts here. Spring will go loaded there. Yep, that's it. This, obviously, you'll put this on last. I have it on here now, but yeah, you're shaking your head, I know. You're waiting for me to try to slip that over, right? No, I was prepared for you. Now, generally, this will go in last, and you have the little C-clip. You put that on. Again, these are very easy to change, and you guys can actually do this. Once that's on, you'll slide this on, lock it in place, put the plate on, and you should be good. You can actually test it beforehand, make sure that the alarm is going to go off and your battery's connected. But like I said, just make sure the crucial point on this to put this on is pretty much the lock. Just make sure that back it's lined up when you put it on, and you'll check it beforehand and put it onto the door, and you're through, you're done.
So, simple for us. It doesn't go off, so cross-check your battery.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, if you press it and the thing doesn't beep, or it's just very like a whittling sound, almost dying faint, it's your battery. It's your battery. Just uncover it before you call it, because some guys will go, and if they don't, they'll go and change it, and maybe there was nothing wrong with it. All you needed was just a battery. So definitely check that. But if it's not, and you put in a new battery and it's not working, then
Yeah, 80% of the time, if you don't get any noise out of the thing, it's the battery. But, you know, we've seen in the industry a lot of times the guys just go out and replace
the whole thing.
You
And
change the battery in your smoke detector, change the battery in your crash bar.
there you go. There you go. There you go. But yeah, again, these are things that you know, you guys are handy. Pretty simple to change, not a big deal. And again, we're here to help you. So if there's a question or anything, you're not sure about something, give us a call.
Yeah.
You know, we'll help you through it. For the sliding doors, without even going to them, I'll tell you right now, that rock salt. Rock salt destroys those bottom tracks. And aluminum doesn't rot, but it'll corrode. I've seen it where we've gone, you know, the doors won't close because they put so much rock salt and everything in there, and it kind of, they never cleaned it off afterwards, and it just stayed there, and you'll see the track will just start lifting up and decaying and falling apart. And now something that could have just taken a couple of minutes to clean it out and make sure it was clean, now you got to, and on some doors, the track is just not pushing the door out the way and getting the track out. Some doors have a secondary slave door behind it that you have a channel lock on it. You got to remove the whole thing. You got to take the stationary panel off. The sliding door's got to come off. Now it's a whole ordeal to just change a track.
Replace the track, a lot of times you run into tile issues, frost heaving. I mean, you can really get. So the cleaner you keep those, the longevity is definitely there.
And like I said, a little bit of WD-40 there. Wipe it out. Get the garbage out. Especially on, you'll see capping on the tracks. Some of the capping on some doors, you got to remove the whole track. On other doors, you can actually remove that capping, replace the capping. If you don't replace the capping or you don't notify somebody that the capping is gone, there's a guide pin on the bottom of those doors sliding back and forth. If the capping isn't there, that, first of all, that's what keeps the door quiet when it's running back and forth. But when the capping goes, now that guide is ripping up against the aluminum on that track, destroying the track. So now something where they could have came and just changed the capping, or you could have just snapped on the capping, now we got to change the whole track. Track's got to come out. And I'll show you what that looks like on the doors outside. But keeping them clean, I tell you, saves you a lot of time. And like I said, just checking the doors out when you first fire them up in the morning. Just take a look around them, make sure that they're okay. Mechanically, before you even fire them up, just check them manually to see how they move. You know, they should move smoothly. If they don't and they're jammed and something's in the way, rocks, pebbles, whatever, or something pinching the guide, just take a peek at it, and you know, could save that service call. The other thing I have to tell you, on all your doors, on the automatic doors, just make sure that stickers are on them. If your tech guy comes in for a service, he's got to check something out, just ask him to take a look, make sure all the stickers are on the doors, because without these, somebody gets hit with a door. Well, there was no sign that said it was a handicap. There was no sign that said to check the door. Lawsuit waiting to happen. Just make sure these guys are on every corner, especially on the automatic doors, so that when you go in the morning, or you just take a look at this list, run down the list, check the door to make sure everything's okay with it. Safeties are working, the door's opening and closing okay, not slamming closed. Anything like that, now we're talking getting a little bit more technical. We'll leave that up for the tech guy, because he's got to figure out, you know, make sure that the speed of the door is correct, the sensors are picking up correctly. Your job is to make sure that, hey, that door, it's working okay. If it's not, and that door is slamming, or you find out a sensor's not working on that door, shut that door down. Take that door out of service so no one gets hurt. Get on the phone. We'll get somebody right away to help you out with that door. Anything that has to do with a safety or activation. If you see a swing door that swings out and comes and slams, it's not a manual, it's an automatic door. Those doors, when they're working great, perfect. But when they're not, they're spring-loaded, they're tensioned, they can hurt somebody. Okay? Any questions? Good crowd.
Check all rollers. Make sure they're clean. You can use WD-40 to lubricate, but a small amount on the rollers. If worn out, replace them. Don't pack them with grease. Make sure track and rails are clean. Again, do not pack track with grease. Check your safety sensors on the doors and the activation. If either fails from stopping or operating the door, shut it down and call for service. Pull release cord to disengage door. Check smoothness of door's travel, open and close. Check hinges at door panels. If loose, tighten them. If worn, replace them. Do not, under any circumstances, try to adjust the tension of the door. Call for service. Check weather stripping at the bottom of the door. If worn, replace. Note, for rollers, hinges, and weather stripping, you can contact Glass America. Before powering up units, unlock the doors. Move doors back and forth. The doors should move smoothly. Check tracks at the bottom of the door. Make sure they are clean of all debris. Rock salt and calcium left in and around tracks will eventually rot out tracks and framework. This will create a costly repair, so the sooner you can clean the salt and calcium from tracks, the better. Power up the unit and do a walkthrough. At this point, we are looking for a smooth operation of the unit. Activation of the unit, opening and closing, should be smooth. Check safety. Units should stop when safety is blocked. Check emergency breakout panel. Check to make sure all correct stickers are on unit. If unit fails this procedure, shut off unit and call it in for service. Check that there are no obstructions and the doors are free and clear to operate. If railings are present, check that they are securely anchored. If unit is equipped with press wall switches, check to make sure they activate the door. Look for smoothness in the opening and closing of the door. The door's transition in opening and closing should not be abrupt. Check the safety on the unit. While in the threshold, the door should stay open. If you are standing at the swing side of the door should stay closed. Do not under any circumstances try to adjust any of the automatic doors. If door activations or safeties are not working properly, shut off unit for 30 seconds to allow unit to reset and restore power. If it still does not operate, call for service. There is more detailed information in the books that you were given. Refer to it as needed.